Easter wasn't just a day. It was a debut. The rustle of new taffeta against your legs. The stiff pinch of patent leather shoes. Your mother smoothing your collar one last time before church. This was the outfit that told your neighbors you'd made it through another year. This was the dress that said your family mattered. When getting dressed was an event, close your eyes for a moment. Can you smell it? That crisp, almost chemical scent of brand new fabric. Stiff cotton, scratchy tulle. Maybe a satin bow that refused to lay flat. Picture Easter morning in 1962. You're standing in front of the mirror while your mother pins your hair or adjusts your clip-on tie. The outfit laid out the night before, maybe even weeks before, is finally being worn. White gloves for the girls, a narrow tie for the boys. Patent leather shoes so shiny you could see your reflection. This wasn't just getting dressed. This was a performance. The pews would be full that morning. Oak benches polished to a gleam, and everyone in their absolute finest. You'd slide into your seat, careful not to wrinkle, not to scuff. Around you, a sea of pastels and navy suits. Mothers in pillbox hats with little veils. Fathers in fedoras they'd remove at the door. Easter clothes embodied the post-war optimism of the 1950s, when full skirts, cinched waists, and Dior's new look became parade staples. The silhouette itself was a declaration: abundance after scarcity, glamour after austerity. But this tradition didn't start in department stores. It started in church altars. As church decorations became increasingly lavish in the 1880s, parishioners followed suit. Lavish church displays influenced store windows, which became almost cathedral-like, reinforcing that people deserved personal fulfillment. The flowers on the altar became flowers on hats. The grandeur of the sanctuary spilled out onto Fifth Avenue in New York, where the Easter parade drew over 1 million people by 1947. There was even an old proverb that said if you didn't wear something new on Easter Sunday, you wouldn't have good luck for the year. Your Easter outfit wasn't just clothing, it was insurance. How mothers made magic happen now. Let's talk about where those Easter outfits actually came from. If your family had money, you might have gone to a department store, Sears, JCPenney, maybe a local boutique. You'd flip through the catalog in the weeks leading up to Easter, folding down the corners of pages with dresses you'd never be able to afford. The models always looked so perfect, didn't they? Hair in perfect waves, gloves without a single wrinkle. But for most families, Easter clothes meant one thing: patterns. McCall's, simplicity. Butterick, Vogue. By the mid-1950s, dressmaking patterns from companies like Butterick, McCall's, Simplicity, and Vogue were vastly improved, and middle-class women began taking up dressmaking as a useful hobby. The little dressmaker, the neighborhood seamstress, had all but vanished. So mothers learned to sew. Picture your mother at the kitchen table, pattern pieces spread out like a puzzle, tissue-thin paper pinned to fabric, maybe something she'd been saving, maybe something repurposed from last year's curtains. The whir of the sewing machine late into the night, pins held between her lips, a seam ripper for the inevitable mistakes. She wasn't just sewing a dress, she was sewing respectability. Made in expensive fabrics like shot silk, home dressmakers could save pounds by making their own dresses, and when trimmed with a fashionable fake flower and a matching stole, the outfit offered an element of originality amid mass-produced goods. This was the domestic economy at work. Mothers budgeted for months. They reused patterns, adjusted hems, let out seams as children grew. Girls learned to sew alongside their mothers, understanding that this skill was both practical and precious. Your Easter dress might have been hand-stitched with love, but it was also stitched with anxiety. Would it be good enough? Would the neighbors notice the slightly crooked hem? Would anyone ask where you got it? The catalog imagery sold more than patterns. It sold aspiration. Those glossy photos promised that if you could just get the look right, you'd fit in. You'd belong. The unspoken language of hemlines and hats. Let's get to the heart of it. Why did Easter clothes matter so much? Because they were never just clothes. Easter dresses were prioritized because of social standards, status, and tradition. Wearing something new to church on Easter wasn't optional. It was expected. It was a visual test of where your family stood. Could your parents afford new shoes this year? Did your mother have the time and skill to sew something fashionable? Did your hat match your dress? Were your gloves clean? These details were read like a report card by the congregation. In the 1950s, no well-bred Southern woman would think of going to church without a hat. White gloves, a lacy handkerchief tucked into a clutch bag, high heels, and sheer hose with a seam running down the back. For men, it was a dark suit, starched white shirt, tie, and fedora. These weren't suggestions. They were requirements. And it wasn't just about vanity. It was about respect. Respect for God, yes, but also respect for community norms. Respect for the institution of the church. Respect for the idea that some things were sacred enough to demand your best. Your Easter outfit said, "We are moral. We are stable. We are worthy." It said, "We care." But there was a tension here, too. Critics at the time pointed out the hypocrisy. Journalists highlighted the discrepancy between rich women Easter fashions and the lives of sweatshop workers who made them. During the Great Depression, unemployed workers paraded in coarse, worn-out clothing, carrying banners that compared the cost of a single Fifth Avenue gown to a year's worth of welfare relief. The spectacle of Easter fashion was beautiful, but it was also brutal. And then, quietly, it faded. By the 1960s and 70s, hats were no longer a fashion necessity. Casual dress crept into churches. The rigid dress code softened. Fewer mothers spent their evenings at sewing machines. Fewer children stood stiff and uncomfortable in scratchy new clothes. The ritual became optional, then old-fashioned, then, for many, forgotten. But here's what stayed: the memory. Maybe you're 50 now, 60, 70, and maybe you haven't thought about that Easter dress in decades. But when you do, when you let yourself really remember, you can still feel it, can't you? The weight of the fabric, the tightness of the shoes, the way your mother looked at you with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. You remember standing in front of the mirror, seeing yourself transformed. You remember walking into that church, head high, knowing, or at least hoping, you looked like you belonged. Easter clothes weren't just about fashion. They were about arrival, about proving something, about being seen and being accepted. We don't dress like that anymore. Most of us don't miss the formality, the pressure, the expense. But we do miss the meaning. We miss the idea that some moments matter so much, you dress for them, that some days deserve your absolute best. That clothing can be a quiet act of love. A mother staying up late, a father shining shoes, a family pulling together to present themselves to the world. That's what Easter clothes were really about. They were about showing up, and for one bright Sunday morning, feeling like you'd finally made it.